Anugraha, you can start.
Yes. So good afternoon to one and all present here. This is like we are officially in day 3 of the stress management series, and so far it has been going well. And now today I take immense pleasure to welcome a multi-talented person who has mastered in the field of technology and organizational psychology with a solid experience of 25 years. From kickstarting his career in tech field to following his passion for organizational psychology, sir, you are a true inspiration for us. He has strong experience in people development, organizational development, soft skills, and behavioral training, leadership training, mental health training, and counseling areas. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Vijay Kumar Pitak. The forum is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Anugraha. Thank you for the nice introduction. Thank you, Dr. Joshila Madam. Hope you are able to hear me properly, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, can I share my screen?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Sure. Let me just. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope you're all doing well. Warm welcome to this session. And first of all, happy Republic Day to everyone here. And let's today's session is on the stress management, right? So usually we use a lot of colorful slides in the presentations, but today this particular slide is made with a purpose. Typically most of the faculty members are associated with the blackboard and the white chalk piece kind of thing. I'm sure you are all can correlate with it. And also some of in the pandemic time, right, some of the people are missing this kind of experience. So I thought probably at least through this slide I would like to give you this kind of blackboard experience, right? So not only that, and also this particular slide is a tribute to all the faculty members here, right? You have been doing a great job. You have been handling all your sessions online, offline, hybrid mode, in spite of having a lot of pandemic issues, right? And so this is a tribute to all of you, and thank you for whatever you're doing, and please continue to do that, right? And so I don't know, if everybody can unmute themselves and give a big hand for themselves, Anugraha. Is it possible? Can they just clap for themselves? I would like to.
Yes, sir. I think we can show the reactions and
yes,
they're allowed to unmute, but
sure,
video unmute is not an issue.
Sure. Maybe they can, show their reactions by, clapping. Or you can clap. You can use the reaction mode in your Zoom session. Right. Anyway, so thank you for that. Thank you, Anugraha, and thank you all. So let's dive into the session. See, basically, I know Dr. Joshila ma'am informed me that you have been going through this faculty development program for this entire week, right? And the theme of this program is stress management. I know some of the speakers would have already told you about what is the stress, and how to cope it up. And similarly, probably the speakers who will be coming tomorrow and day after tomorrow also will be talking about that. So I don't want to bore you with all the definitions and all the kind of thing, but probably I would like to give some kind of psychological aspects of what is stress, and how exactly the stress happens in our brain, right? And then how can we cope it up, right? Probably I'm just assuming that this will be a little bit new to what you have already had, or probably what you are going to hear tomorrow and day after tomorrow, right? So I would like to do this small activity, right? First, let's do this. Take a paper and draw a line vertically in center of the paper, right? You can take your book, notebook, or a white paper, and just draw one vertical line in center of the paper, right? So that your paper will be two halves. Now you don't need to tear it, right? Just draw a vertical line. Okay. All right. Then what I want you to do is, on the left side of it, you can write whatever bad things that happened in last 1 or 2 months. It can be small or big. You may have a fight with your family member, small fight, right? Not big fight. Anything, right? Whatever happened to you, small or big, whatever comes to your mind, you can write it on the left side, and you do not need to discuss with anyone, and you do not need to share this with anyone. Even I don't ask you what you have written, right? It is for yourself, but just take a minute, and probably you can write it down, like whatever bad things happened in your view, right? Just I'm giving you a minute in the interest of time. Just write down whatever comes to your mind. Okay, so now you can write whatever good things happened to you in last 1 or 2 months. Again, it can be a small or big. Again, you don't need to discuss with anyone. You don't need to share with anyone. But just write down whatever it comes to your mind about what good things happened to you in the last 1 or 2 months. Right? Again, take another 1 minute. Maybe a few more seconds more. Okay, so don't do anything with this paper now. Just keep it aside. We'll come back to this after a few slides. Okay, so now let's dive deep into what is the stress management. Of course, this is my profile, and already Anugraha informed you about me, so I don't need to tell you. So I'll just skip this slide. Right. So what is the stress? Right. Again, like some of these slides, I kept it for the completeness purpose. I don't want to discuss more. As I said, probably already some of the speakers might have already discussed, that some people may speak tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Right. So just for the completeness purpose, I kept some slides, right, so that it will become a good package for you. Right. So see, whenever you are walking on a road, example, right, and then suddenly you see a bear coming towards you, right? What do? And most of the people, they try to run away, or some people, they may try to fight with bear. And some people, what they do is they will they just stand still because they don't know what to do. They cannot take any decision at that point of time. Their mind becomes numb, and they just stand still. So this particular reaction, we call it as a fight, flight, or freeze. Right. So when you are fighting with the bear or anything, right, it is a fight. And when you are running away from the bear, it is called flight. And when you are just standing still, don't know what to do, right, that is called the freeze mode. And this automatically happens from your body, right? So we have so many systems inside our body physiologically, right? We have, a lot of nervous system. We have somatic nervous system, autonomic nervous system, and all those things. I don't want to, go deep details into it. It may be, a little boring for you. But what happens is whenever we come across some kind of, unexpected events or unexpected, animals like this. So what happens is our body will start producing some kind of physiological reactions. That is quite natural, right? Your, hands start trembling. You may have dilated pupils, or your heart, may start beating at a higher rate, and you may get sweating. All these things. So all these things, what it does is, because it will make you prepared to face the situation. Either you can fight, or even if you want to run away, it will give you that kind of enough strength, right, in your muscles, so that you can run away faster. Okay, so this is quite natural. So this is called natural stress. So stress is body's autonomic response to any physical or mental demands placed in it. It can be internal or external. So there is no problem with this. Once you go away a little bit far from where, you will, calm down automatically, right? But the problem comes when you start thinking about the bear, even though it is not in your front, right? So that is the problem, psychological stress. So whatever body gives you by default, right? Because body gives you to protect you. So that is a natural stress. And that happens always, right? Sometimes, we call it as a body equilibrium. And sometimes, your heartbeat rises, sometimes heartbeat down. It makes you to body to, calm down, body to make it in an equilibrium state. So that is quite natural. But when we start thinking too much about anything, when we start thinking about the things which are not there in real, that is where the psychological stress comes, right? And sometimes we may, think about some, our work-related issues, right? So what we call it as stressors. So stressors are the ones which will give you the stress, okay, which will lead you to the stress. So if you take your day-to-day life, there are so many stressors. As we are talking here, as part of the work, right, organization, right? So here we will talk about what are the work-related stressors, right? And all of you know these things. I don't need to explain you in detail what is workload meant for you, what is the time constraints for you, right? What is the lack of recognition means to you, right? And inadequate salary sometimes. So all of you may be facing, some or few of these stressors. It may not be all, but at least some or few of these things you will be facing, right? These are all the work-related stressors. And do we have only work-related stressors in our life? No. We have family-related stressors also, right? So we have to take care of our family. Maybe the kid is not feeling well, or maybe parents are not feeling well, right? Or, there is a small fight with your spouse, or small fight with your kid, right? This is called family-related issues. See, many times what we see people suggesting is you need to separate out, work and your family or home-related issues. We cannot do that because we are living in a place where our work and our family, everything is integrated. It is called work-life balance, or more aptly, it is called work-life integration. Okay. So if, for example, if there is a fight in your house, right, and immediately if you come to your college to give a lecture, obviously that will have an impact on your lecture, because you still keep thinking about that, the fight. But say you had a fight in the morning, but you're going to the college only in the evening, probably because of the time gap, you may not be able to think, or probably you would have solved that issue. So you will not have that issue, that impact. So whenever, there is an immediate, switch over from work to family or family to work, you will definitely have that kind of impact. Okay? And in addition to this, there is a personality style. See, all these stressors, whatever we are talking here, they are all, they are not same for everybody, right? But they are all similar, right? So, but what happens is some people can manage these stressors effectively, but some people, they cannot manage these stressors effectively. Why? What is the reason? The reason is the personality style. Okay, so we'll come to that personality style. I have a little fun activity to do that, but probably, based on the available time, we will do that. So personality style plays an important role in how do you manage stress, right? And in addition to that, we have now pandemic, right? So what happened in the pandemic? People started, working from home, and because governments have announced that all the schools, colleges, they have to, offices, they have to close down the physical premises. So we all started working from home. And now what happened is, traditionally, our homes are meant for a different purpose, and our schools, colleges, offices are meant for different purpose. Now, because of the pandemic and when people started working from home, these purposes are overlapped, right? So now what happened is, there is a thin line between your work life and there is a thin line between your family life. And as an educated person, as a responsible person, you know that line, right? But the problem is, in our house, there are so many others are living. They are staying with us. And they don't know the difference between what is work, what is home. And they only know about the home front. They don't know about the work front. So what happens is, even if you start working from home, and of course, obviously, as we are in India, we are in a developing country, not everybody can afford to have a separate, not everybody can afford to have a separate room for working. And so obviously they have to share the space with their family members. So now what happens is, you are there, you logged into the system and you started, telling your students about the classes, online classes. Suddenly your kid comes and asks something, because your kid doesn't know, small kid. Or your parents come and ask something, your in-laws come and ask something, right? Because they don't know exactly the impact of it. So now what happens is, you start feeling the stress. One is, okay, you are getting disturbed. That is one stress. The second stress is social stress, right? Okay, these people are coming into the video, right? How my students consider that, or how my management consider that if they come into the video, right? And you feel some kind of guilty. So these kind of stresses started happening because of the pandemic. And then, of course, the news about, the relatives, news about the friends, news about, in general, about, the COVID, Omicron, Corona, all these things, started having impact on us, right? Though, sometimes what happens is, there is a next door or, a next street neighbor having COVID impact, Corona. And we start getting that stress, saying that, whether we will get it or not, right? That kind of thing. So all these stresses are adding up because of the pandemic. And when it comes to the personality style, there are two types of fatigue. Of course, there are many types of fatigue, but we will discuss only here two types. The helper fatigue. What is the helper fatigue is, basically this happens to the people, frontline workers and the teachers, right? So basically you put all your efforts and energy to help others. Basically, for example, if you take, doctors or nurses, they put a lot of efforts to save the people. Similarly, you put a lot of efforts to help your students, whoever is going through challenges to come out of it. But at the end of the day, you don't have enough, energy to deal for yourself. So that is called helper fatigue, right? You focus more on your, supporting others, but you don't take care of yourself. And second type of fatigue is the compassion fatigue. This is what I discussed, right? So sometimes what happens is, we absorb others' emotions. Like, somebody else is, suffering, and you feel for them, right? And probably, you think that, whether it will come to me, or something happened to that person, how to handle it, whether that family can handle it or not. That also, some people will, get that kind of stress. Though it is not directly impacting, we will think, something is happening to others, whether that family can really, cope it up or not, right? So this is called compassion fatigue. right? So these are different types of stresses we encounter every day to day, right? So now we look at, so one thing we need to understand here very clearly is stress is common, right? If you see all these work related, family related, personal style, pandemic, the stress is common, okay? And it cannot be avoided. You need to very, very clearly understand that stress cannot be avoided, but it can be managed, okay? Very important. So if somebody is saying that I will give you a stress-free life, don't believe them, because nobody can give you a stress-free life. Everybody has to go through the stress. Can anybody tell me in this audience, right, whoever is attending today's session, can they say that they cannot, they don't have any stress in their life? Can anyone tell? Yes, mostly. I think 99% of the people will have the stress. Maybe the 1%, I don't know how they are avoiding that, but it is not possible. It's not possible at all, right? So now let's look at it. Is stress bad? Right? Is stress really bad? No. We have something like, there are 3 zones of stress. One is less stress, a low stress. One is the optimum stress, which is in the center. And on to the right side of it, it is a high stress. There are the 3 stress levels. So if somebody is having, like for example, right, if somebody is having a low stress, okay, say for example, take a student case. A student, the exams are coming, but he's less bothered. He's not at all, caring, right? So probably he doesn't have that kind of high stress or optimum stress. So what happens, because he is not motivated to study, he's not having that kind of optimum stress. So, he may fail in the exam because he's not studying. But the people who are studious, who are hardworking, right, and who are like good performers, they have this kind of optimum stress always. Only with this optimum stress, we will be able to function, right? Otherwise, it is not possible to function effectively. Similarly, at the same time, even if the stress is too much, then that becomes a distress. So when the stress is optimum, it is called eustress. And when the stress is too much, it is called the distress. Okay, say I'll give you a small example, even, at the stress management, session. I've been giving this for many, corporates, colleges and all. But whenever I give, every time I go through this kind of little stress. Why? Because I want to perform well. I want to give you something useful, right? I want to ensure that you are going out of this session with some kind of happiness, thinking that, yes, I learned something new today, right? Otherwise, there is no point of, me talking and you investing your 1 hour here, right? So that is the reason. So that kind of stress is required, definitely, right? So that is why, we need to have optimum stress, but more worry leads to lesser effective performance. Okay. So this is about, so the stress is not, bad all the time. Some level of stress is required, and that helps us to function in an effective manner, right? So that is the key takeaway from this slide. Now let's move on to the stress bucket. I'm sure most of you would not have heard. Anybody has heard about stress bucket? Can you type in chat panel? Anyone has heard about stress bucket?
They are the different elements, or they are the different things that lead us to stress.
Yeah, partially you're right, Ratika, you're right. Yeah. So I will show you, right, what is this. So like, so take a bucket, right? For example, you have a bucket and then you're pouring water in that, right? So bucket has a capacity. And then once you start pouring the water beyond the capacity, what will happen? The water overflows, correct? Now, similarly, all our brains have a fixed capacity, right? So what happens is it can take the stress up to a certain extent, but when it goes beyond, what will happen, right? So now, when we talk about this stress bucket, when it's related to, our yes, somebody said that, it gradually fills the stress bucket. That is right. So we have like, health stressors, finances, family, friends, colleagues, and then some people have, self-image issues, self-doubt, right? And then the media also, puts a lot of stress on us. And then politics, if somebody is interested, and then job competition, time pressures, expectations on our deliverables. And also some people have the, future stress, right? What will happen to me tomorrow? What will happen to my kids tomorrow? What will happen to my parents tomorrow? Like something like that, right? So these are all the different type of stressors, come into our brain, right? And now what happens is it will keep accumulating. And then one fine day, when, you don't have enough capacity to accommodate any stress more, then what happens is it will come out as a problem. Right. So what can be this problem? So if there is if you have an issue which is bothering about your past, then typically it's called depression, right? And because people get isolated and they get depressed, they don't talk to anybody and all. And if somebody is thinking too much about the future, that is basically about the anxiety. And then there are so many other mental health related issues also. So what happens is when our brain cannot accommodate the stress anymore, it will come out as a mental health issue. So now what we need to do, right? So if your bucket is getting full, then obviously you need to remove something, right? So to keep it within the limits. So what we do is, we have to put a tap to our brain, right? Stress coping mechanism, that is called, and that is unique to everybody. That just like everybody has a different capacity to absorb the stress, everybody has a different coping mechanism to address it. Right? And these coping mechanisms, some of these coping mechanisms are like walking, meditation, art, cooking, talking, right? And spending time with family, gardening. So what these things will do is, these things will not reduce the stress, but these things will make your mind calm. Okay, first you calm down, then we will decide what to do. That is what they will do, right? So in addition to this, there are set of actual coping mechanisms. We will look into it in the future slides. Okay, but for now, just imagine this is like, these are some of the things if you do, it will make your calm mind so that you can take a better thing. And then at that point of time, you will think, okay, I'm too much thinking about media and politics. Is it really required? Then what you will do, you will remove that from your brain so that again it will come to the equilibrium state. Okay, so it is always, we need to ensure that we need to keep our stress within the limits. Okay, of course, when we when we say about the coping mechanism, there is possibility that people go to the negative coping mechanisms also. Like for example, some people say, I'm stressed out, I have to smoke. Some people say, I have so many stresses, I have to go and have alcohol. These are negative coping mechanisms. See, what happens is, at that point of time when they're having that smoke or alcohol, probably that momentary happiness they will get. But in the long term, they will get into, they're actually adding the stressors into the bucket in terms of health, in terms of finances, in terms of other things. Right? So we should ensure that we are following the positive coping mechanisms and not the negative coping mechanisms. Okay. So now let us look at the stages of stress. And this is where the psychology comes. Right. So what we will do is, we have already seen stressors. Right? There are various stressors which are impacting, and then the stress bucket and all those things. And then when the stressor hits us, right? When the stressor hits our brain, what will happen? Perception. So we will think about it first. Okay. So when the stressor comes, when there is more workload, right? Or you're asked to do something unexpectedly, right? Then your brain starts thinking about it. What it thinks? Okay, do I have a control? Right? And when it has to be completed, say for example, your management has given you a task. They never told you that, you have to complete it today, but your brain thinks I have to complete it today because I want to get recognition. Or, you're thinking that, because though nobody told you to complete it today, you want to be perfect. You want to get good credit, right? So these some kind of self-beliefs also will impact your stress levels. And then you look at the value. Okay, if I do this task, what is the value I will get? Maybe if it is a less value, you don't care. But if it is significant value, you want to do it immediately. Right? And then the experience you go through by thinking about it. So this is what happens when you're hit with the stressor. Then what happens is, based on your perception of that stress, you will take action. What action you can take? Either you will react, means, say for example, if somebody is given you the workload, or you got additional responsibility, you don't like that, immediately you react. Right? On whom you will react? You will react not on the person who gave it, but probably you will react on the people who are close to you, like your family, your kids, your parents, your in-laws, your spouse, because they don't give you back, right? Or you love them and you think that you're taking them for granted, and then you reacted. Sometimes people respond. So what is the respond means? See, when I get a workload, I know I cannot, I'm already having a lot of work. I'm getting additional responsibility. Now, instead of reacting, you need to pause. See, the pause is required just for a few seconds. It will not take more time. Whenever any stress comes, just take a pause before taking any decision, before taking any action. Take a pause. And then you start thinking about it. And then you respond. Right? At that point of time, you may be able to tell your management saying that, see, I already got so much of work, I will not be able to do. Or please give me support in terms of somebody else. No, we will share the work. Or you will look for some other innovative ways or creative ways of handling that work. Okay, so that is a bit, difference between the reacting versus responding. When you react, immediately for anything, what will happen is, most of the times your decision is, impaired, and it is a biased decision, and also probably your relationships will be broken. Right? So to avoid that, take that pause. Right? And similarly, as I discussed, now people can take positive coping mechanisms, people can take negative coping mechanisms also. Based on your actions, there will be consequences, right? It can be a short term, it can be a long term, it can be a good, it can be bad. See, the moment you react, maybe your anger is reduced, short term, but what is the long term? Right? Your kid is so upset and he thinks that you are not approachable, or your family thinks that you are not approachable. So there will be long-term issues. Right? So these are the different stages of stress people go through before they reach that burnout stage. Right? So I'm just looking at some chart, I think. Anger management in the wrong way by breaking things. Yes, it is a wrong coping mechanism. Yes, as I said, it will give you a short-term happiness, but that is not helpful. Right? So next we will go to the impact of stress. We are talking about the consequences. Again, this is for more of a completeness purpose. So when you have the overstress and when you take up the unhealthy coping mechanisms, what will happen is it will impact you in a physical manner. Like basically, you can see the physiological changes like increased sweating, headaches, heartache, all those things will come. And then behaviorally, you react, you lose your sleep, your eating habits will change. Either you eat more or you eat less, and you become aggressive and defensive, right? And then you want to be in isolation because you keep thinking about the same issue. And then sometimes, as I said, people may get addicted to the alcohol and all the other things, right? And then cognitive means, your thinking patterns itself will be changed. You don't have the focus. And then, you have a trouble with remembering. Memory power will be impacted. And then, you will not be able to take a proper decision at that point of time. And then you do repeated mistakes, absence of mind, all those things will come. And emotionally, people get impatient, irritated, and then feeling sad. they don't have any, like, if somebody is burnout, right, because of the overstress, so they will not, feel good, and they don't want to do anything, but they have to do something because of the, constraints they have in office. So they just pull along. They just try to drag their life, without any life in that, right? That is the problem. Right, and then they develop some kind of pessimistic attitude. Right? These are the consequences that will happen. Now we will look at how do you cope. So I said, like, something which you can do, like, walking, meditation, yoga, and all, which will calm your mind, and so that you can think properly and take decisions. In addition to that, we have something called a 4A strategy for coping up stress. So how do you do? First thing is avoid. So this is basically rushing things. This one of the thing is personality. See, some people are do the procrastination, right? So what happens is they keep things until the last minute, and then the last minute everything gets piled up, and then they try to do everything in the last minute to meet the expectations, and then stress levels will be increased, right? So rushing things we should avoid. And gossips are people who drain you, right? Gossips anyway, it doesn't help us. And then sometimes, you come across the people who keep on, cribbing about everything and anything in the life. And initially, it may be, interesting for us to listen to them. But over a period of time, you get drained, right? And then, that will have a negative impact on you. So better you avoid that kind of people. And saying yes to everything, very big thing. If you want to please everybody, that is not possible. So, in the, in the process of pleasing everybody, right, we say yes to everything, but that is not correct. Again, I'm not saying that, say no immediately, right? See, whenever you are given additional responsibility or additional task, take a pause, think about it, think what is there in your plate, what is, what you can handle, what you cannot handle, and have that kind of conversation with your management or anybody, your family, right? They will be able to help you. But the moment, they give you something and you say no, that may impact. So what I'm saying here by avoiding saying yes is think and take decision, whether you can take or not. If you cannot take, then say no, right? And then skipping meals, very, very important. Many people say, I don't have time. I don't have time to eat breakfast. I don't have time to lunch. I have, some deliverable there. I have to present this. No, that is not good. Because the moment, you are hungry, again, your decision-making power will be impacted. You will not be effective. You may think that, you're spending more time by skipping meals, but actually that is negatively impacting you, right? So don't do that. The other strategy is called alter. So lifestyle habits which do not help, right? It can be any lifestyle habit. It can be smoking. It can be, like alcohol, or it can be like, gossiping, whatever it is, right? If it is not helpful, try to change those lifestyle habits, right? Even binge eating, right? And then thought process. This is very, very important. We have seen in the stages, right? The first one is stressors, and then the perception. That is where this thought process comes, and we will discuss about it. And then the schedules based on your need. Basically, what happens is, see, the changes keep happening, right? Today, for example, right, your management might say you have to come to the school from 9 o'clock onwards. But maybe tomorrow they might say you have to come from 8 o'clock onwards because of whatever reason. Then you need to change your schedules accordingly, right? You need to have that kind of conversation with your family, because there are people depending on you both in your office as well as in your home. So you need to manage your schedules based on your need, based on your convenience, right? You cannot say, no, I will not come, I will only do this. That kind of thing is not going to help. And then situations which are in your control, right? Say, for example, your kid is not feeling well. Right? There is no point in thinking that, oh, my kid is not feeling well, my kid is not feeling well. You need to see, okay, what needs to be done so that, kid feels better. Right? So that is how you need to take the control of situation if you have control. Right? But if you don't have control, then you have to accept. Like, for example, nobody expected that Corona would come, and nobody expected there will be wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. So in this case, there is no point in cribbing, right? We just need to, take on. We need to accept it and just move on, right? And then feedback. Very, very important that, when somebody is giving us feedback, it can be good or bad, right? We need to be open to that feedback. We cannot say, I always did like this. I never do, right? This is working for me. Why are you telling me change? No, right? See, accept the feedback and then think about it. Again, no, use that pause, right? Pause is very powerful. If somebody is giving you feedback, don't immediately jump and say, no, you don't know anything about me. No, please stop. Please pause. Take the feedback and tell, okay, I understand your point of view, but let me tell my point of view. Right? That is much better way of conversation. Right? So that you will not have conflict. When you don't have the conflict, you don't have the stress. Right? And then mistakes. See, sometimes we see, right? Some people do mistakes unintentionally. They don't do it intentionally. Right? Somehow they did some mistake without knowing. But then what happens is, instead of accepting the mistake, they'll keep on defending and they keep on arguing, which is not going to be helpful. See, the other person is telling that, no, you did a mistake, and you saying that, no, I didn't do mistake. If you are genuinely not, didn't do any mistake, then you can argue. But if you think that, yes, maybe there is some fault from my side, just accept and move on. Right? So that the other person will be happy, you will be happy, and there is no more discussions, no debates, and both of your relationship also will be, good. Otherwise, you keep defending and the person keeps, poking you, and there is no point, right? It means unnecessarily you are breaking your relationship. And so it's better you keep mistake if it is from your side. And then offer for support, very, very important. Many times we think that we are superhumans. We can do everything. We can manage everything, right? If the additional responsibility is given to me in the house or in the office, I think that I can do so that I can get good credit. No, see, everybody has a limit, right? And we are not superhumans. We have the capacity. So what we can do is we can stretch a little bit, but beyond that you cannot, right? So at that point of time, if somebody is offering you, if your colleague is coming and telling, I can help you, please take. Or your family members is saying that, okay, you take care of your classes, I will cook for you, or I will make tea for you. Accept it. No need to, be guilty, and no need to say that everything, being a woman of house, I have to do everything. No, that is not correct, right? So the last one is about adapt. So this is the adjusting, right? New ways of working to improve. Like when Corona came, everybody moved to online and we had to adjust. No, you cannot say that I don't teach, I don't believe in online classes, so I don't teach. So who will be the loser? Right? If I say that, I don't want to change, I will be the loser. Right? But you have to adjust, you have to adapt. And adapt to the situation by being flexible, whatever it is. And then me time for self-care, very, very important. I think this is where many people, right, as I said, everybody thinks that they are superhuman, right? And they don't have any me time for them. But you should create that kind of me time. It can be 15 minutes. Do whatever you like, whatever you love to do, music, art, meditation, yoga. But you need that me time. You can't keep, working for others 24/7. And you need to have that kind of me time. Otherwise, you will get burnout very quickly. And supporting network. Again, this is like, the people who can support you, your family members, right? Your spouse, your kids. Give them delegate some work to them, create some network. And then see, at the end of the day, you should have a person with whom you can vent out your feelings, right? How many of you have that kind of person? It can be friend, family member, anybody, colleague, right? I can share everything with you, right? I can share my feelings. And that person should be able to do that non-judgmentally, right? I mean, should listen to you. So that kind of network you need to create. And that if you start, they will also do, right? So that is what you need to develop. So these are the coping strategies. We call it as a 4 years. And in addition to that, there are some things which can convert this distress into eustress. These are all called behavioral stress busters. But I'm not going to discuss too much because many people probably, would have already told you about these are the things, right? You need to manage your time. You need to be organized. You need to have the goals. You spend time, eat healthy food, take breaks. These are all very valid points. I just don't want to repeat it because probably you would have already heard about it in the past, right? So just moving on from there. Some other coping strategies. This is where, again, the actual thing comes, right? So as I said, the strategies are stressors, and then you have a perception. So how you think that stress, whether you have a control or, how do you want to handle, what is the time limit you have, all these things, keeps ringing in your brain, okay? and then you take action, and then the consequences, right? This is what we discussed. Now, the major point is this one, the thought process. That we discussed about thought process, right? This is where you need to focus. If you can control your thoughts, you can control your stress, you can control your responses, you can control your consequences. But if you cannot control your thought process, that is where the problem comes. Now you will ask me question, okay, how do I control my thought process? I'll tell you, right? So if you can control your thought process, that will help you to take positive coping mechanisms. And because you are taking the positive coping mechanism, you will get positive results. Yeah. So now I will tell you how do we take the thought process. Okay. First thing is you need to understand, okay, what is this stress about it? You need to think. That is where again I'm telling the pause is very, very important. Don't action in hurry. Okay. Don't take decisions in hurry. Pause. And then think about what is this stressor about it? How am I feeling about it? Can I do anything? Right? If you have control, you can do it. If you don't have control, then you cannot do anyway. Right? So these are the thought stopping methods we call. I will come to that. Right? So here, if you this we call it as a worry chart. Okay, you have to create this worry chart for every stress you have. Like say, for example, today you are getting an additional responsibility. For example, you need to first, instead of thinking negatively or positively about it, be neutral. Okay, I got this work today. Now, what is this about? Okay, do you have a problem with that? Okay, no, yes, I have a problem. What is the problem? You already have a lot of things in your plate. Now you will not be able to take it up. Okay, can you do something about it? Yes. What you can do? I'm just giving again my example, right? Yes, I can talk to my manager. I can talk to my friends. I can talk to my colleague, or I can do something. So if you can do something, do it. No need to worry. Suppose you cannot do anything about it. So you already have, I mean, this is a different example like Corona, right? You cannot do anything about Corona, right? Can you stop Corona? Third wave, second wave? No. So in that case, is there any point in worrying about it? No. Right? So then don't worry. If it is not a problem at all, then also you don't need to worry. Right? So this is, we call it as a worry chart. And because, see, the moment you put your thoughts on a paper, you will get clarity. That is the basic thing here. As long as you are not putting your thoughts on paper, you'll keep thinking in your mind. And mind is a monkey. It keeps dragging you into places, right? In infinite loop. So the moment you are thinking that you are getting stressed, stop there. Start writing your thoughts. Then definitely you will get a clarity. Even here, can you do something about it? No. You also can think, okay, can somebody help me? Can I take support from somebody else? If yes, again, no need to worry. If no, anyway, you have to do. Right? So this is something like worry chart you need to create. Okay. And then this is another thought process where you can alter your thoughts. Okay. These are all called cognitive stress busters because everything happens in your mind. Whether it is, whatever action you take, behind that action, there is a mind. Your thought process is there. Right? So now you can reframe your thoughts, right? Focus on good. Say, for example, I don't want to do it, but I have to do, right? This is a negative statement. And you are putting two negative statements there. So to make it more negative, I don't want to do it, but I have to, with lack of interest. So how can you change that? You can say, first you understand what is the reason for that particular task or the particular activity, what it helps the organization, how it helps the organization. Then you think, okay, I'm doing it because it helps so and so. See what is the change? The first one you are saying, I don't want to do it, but I have to. But by changing the thought, by understanding the bigger picture, by understanding the, what is the reason behind this activity, how it helps my organization, how it helps my college, how it helps the students, then obviously you will get that motivation, right? Or you can say, I am choosing it to do because, see, the moment you are saying that I am choosing it to do, that means your burden will be reduced. Now you are not doing it because somebody else asked you to do. Here you are doing it because you have chosen it to do. See, this is what the reframing of thoughts we call, right? And challenge your negative thoughts, right? You can say, why I am being asked to do, why not others? Why my management is giving me every time, why not others? Instead of thinking that, can you think, management is having more confidence in me to do this? How it looks like, how it sounds, right? So instead of thinking that, why I am every time, why am I? Instead of that, management is having more confidence in me to do this, right? But again, I'm not saying that, you say no. I'm not saying you say yes. It will give you a positive attitude towards that. And then think about it. And then see what you can do. If you can do something, do it. If you cannot do, have a conversation. Right? That will help you. And instead of thinking that the negative thoughts, unnecessarily it will be in a loop. So you have to break that loop by doing this, right? And positive self-talk, right? I cannot do, or it's difficult for me, right? So instead of doing it, okay, let me try, or let me try to understand this, right? So that is where your react versus respond comes. So immediately saying that I cannot do, or it is difficult for me, just try to understand. Okay, let me understand a little more and come back to you. Or let me try and I'll come back to you. See, that is a better way of taking it up, right? And then break your repeated thoughts. If you're repeatedly thinking about something, you need to break it. Otherwise, it will break your head, right? So what you need to do is, the moment you are thinking, overthinking, stop there and count 100 to 1 reverse order by decreasing 7, like 100, 93, right? 86. So what will happen is, if I have to say, you have to count numbers 1 to 100, you will very easily do it, because that is automatically your brain will do, because you are trained to do it. But the moment you are doing it from the reverse order, then you have to do more focus on that. You have to put more focus on that numbers. So what will happen is, your thoughts will be stopped for a while. Okay. Or Z to A, skipping one letter in between. So what will happen is, you have to do it focused manner. So when you are doing this, the other thoughts will stop for a minute, right? So you can break that. Or the other thing is, it is a mindfulness technique, again, grounding technique called. So what we say is, if you're too much stressed, just, see 5 items around you, any 5 different items, or touch 4 items, that is, touch 4 different surfaces. Like you can touch floor, you can touch table, you can touch wall, right? You can touch fan, whatever it is around you. And hear 3 sounds, like any 3 sounds you try to hear, your fan sound, or if it is some bird sound, or somebody walking sound, right? Anything. And smell 2 things. It can be flower, perfume, and then taste 1 item. Right? It can be like even a water, right? Take a sip of water. So what will happen is, if you do all these things together, then you are doing mindfully, then you will give a pause to your thought process. So that is the idea behind these cognitive stress busters. So initially when I started, I asked you to write down the negative things, what happened to you, and positive things, what happened to you, right? See, what happens when you go to some vacation, or when you go some place, what you do? You take a picture and store it in your device, correct? That's what you do, right? So what we do, good memories, we are putting in our device storage. Bad memories, we are putting in our heart, right? So in that vacation, if somebody irritated you, you will put it in your heart. You don't put it in the storage, right? Instead of that, we should keep good memories in our heart. Okay, what is good about that person, what he's trying to tell me, and bad memories in the dustbin, right? See, that is the best way of doing things, but that is the best way of stress busters, right? So why I asked you to write bad things and good things is because I don't know how many of you have written more bad things than good things. Can you raise your hands? How many of you have written more bad things than good things? Okay, I think we have just 3 more minutes, but so probably in the interest of time, I'll just move ahead. So typically in our workshops and all, we see most of the people write bad things because they remember bad things more. But we keep telling them that we have to keep good things, not bad things, right? So that is what we tell. So then, and this is probably another thing which you need to look at. So avoid decisions when you are hungry. Okay, this is called heart states. So when you are hungry, you will not be able to take the good decision, right? So, or if somebody is trying to talk to you about something, some your project or some thing, you should say that I'm hungry, I will have something and come back, because you will not be very effective. Similarly, when you are angry, you need to take a pause. You cannot continue. When you are feeling lonely, isolated, again, it is not good to take the decisions. And when you are tired, obviously you will not be able to take the decision. So whenever you take a decision, before making the decision, check for these states. Are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you feeling lonely? Are you tired? Okay, so that will help you to take good decisions. Okay. So in the interest of time, I will not do this. So I don't know how much more time is there. So Anugraha or
Sir, you have 2 more minutes, sir.
okay, I'll try to then close. Actually, okay. So the personality styles, then I will just avoid. So this is dose of happiness for you. Basically, just again, I'll quickly go through this. We have in our brain there are a lot of chemicals which will give us happiness by default, right? The dopamine is reward mechanism, and serotonin is for the mood balancer, oxytocin is happiness, and endorphin is for the painkiller. So usually we have these chemicals, but if there is because of the stress, what will happen is we will not be able to generate these kind of neurotransmitters. So artificially we have to do that by doing by taking good care of yourself, by eating food, or by spending time with family, or by meditating. So these kind of things, if you do, your neurotransmitters will be improved, and that will lead to a better happiness state. Okay, so I'll quickly go through that. And simple words, this is my final slide. Right, so many of the issues can be addressed through empathetic conversations. Right, first thing is you need to understand, you have to be aware of your emotions. Right, why am I feeling like this? What is causing me this stress? Then be aware of your behaviors. Okay, by what am I trying to do? Right, is it good or bad, and what is the consequence? So if you are aware of your emotions, your behaviors, your consequences, definitely your stress will be reduced. Similarly, if you observe some of your family, friends, colleagues, students going through this kind of stress, right, provide them the emotional support. Right, have empathetic listening, means don't be judgmental. If somebody wants to say something to you, just listen. Don't say, no, you should not have done this, you should have done this, because by default we are conditioned to give advices to the people. Right? But if somebody wants to say something, they don't want an advice from you. They want a help. A listening ear from you. Right? So just give them that kind of listening ear. Right? Don't be judgmental. Similarly, empathetic conversations. Okay, see, don't ask why did you do that or what happened. Just ask them. I understand that you're not feeling good. Can I do anything? Right? Can I help you in any way? So that that will give them more happiness, and you will be relieving their stress rather than asking them questions and putting them in more embarrassed positions. Right? So that is why many issues can be resolved through empathetic conversations. And in psychology, we say there are 3 types of issues. One is the mild, moderate, and severe. Actually, for most of the people who are going through these kind of issues in pandemic, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, We don't need psychologists or psychiatrists. It is all they need is a support from their family, friends, and colleagues. Just listen to them non-judgmentally, have that kind of conversation. So all the mild issues will be resolved. If it is not resolved, if it is still there for more than 2 weeks, then you need to consider as a moderate or severe. For moderate, you need to see psychologist, and if it is severe, you need to see psychiatrist. Right? But I'm telling you with my experience, most of the times, if you talk to the people, most of the problems will be resolved. Okay, thank you. With that, I'm concluding. If you have any question, maybe I can take if you have time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, we have a thank you note. Just wait for a few minutes, sir.
Sure, madam.
Monica, are you going to read?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, one and all gathered here. Thank you is not just a word, it is more than an emotion. The time has come to express my gratitude. First and foremost, it's my great honor and privilege to express my sincere thanks to our chief guest, Mr. Vijay Kumar, sir, for graciously accepting the invitation. Sir, your presence today is the greatest source of motivation to all present here, and we're really thankful to you for spending your valuable time in your lecture. And I am immensely thankful to all our teachers and their efforts that went into organizing this session. And last but not least, I want to thank all our participants for all your attention. Once again, thank you, everyone.
Sir, there's a question in the chat, sir. How to deal with anger without outburst?
Yeah, so see, again, like, you need to see why the anger is coming. That is where, your difference between react and response comes, right? The moment you feel anger, you want to, pour it on somebody else. That is what I said, right? So you pour it on the people who are closer to you, whom you love. And you are pour it on the people who are weak, right? For example, you have some stress, you are getting irritated, you are angry, and then, you are showing it on your kid because, kid cannot throw it back on you, right? So, but we should not take our family members and our loved ones for granted, right? It is very, very important, right? So what we need to do is just take a pause there, right? Before doing any action, right? Understand that stressors are there, and yes, you have some stress, and understand, what is your emotion at that point of time. Just take a break, take deep breath, or, as I said, count from back, from 100 to 1, or Z to A, right? And then you take action. Definitely yours will not be outburst, right? That is what we have seen in our experience. Sure, Ratika, you want to add something?
Thank you so much, sir. You are learned enough, but yes, as a very small student, I'm just adding one thing which I also do. Sir, there is a yogic mudra that is called as khechari, in which we actually turn our tongue and talu pe lagana. So khechari, if we practice, keep on practicing, it is really very much helpful in controlling the outburst of anger at the times, when it actually is coming or venting out.
Great, Ratika. Yeah. So there are many strategies are there, yoga, meditation, breathing, these things, by practice, what will happen is, only by practice you can control your anger. But if you say that, when anger comes, I want to do meditation, probably that will not work, right? So when you practice it every day, when the thing comes, when the situation comes, you will automatically implement it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your valuable comments, valuable knowledge. What you have shared with us, it is very useful for our life, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Joshila, madam. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Participants, kindly fill in the feedback form before you leave the session. Kindly fill in the feedback form.
So, madam, can I leave now?
Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you.